Now have new details about the Homeland Security Task Force South Texas operation that happened at San Pedro and Bassi last week.
Have you ever wondered if right in the quietest American neighborhoods, a shadow network is creeping in, bringing deadly drugs, violence, and shattered lives? Picture this 10:48 at night in El Paso, Texas. Gunfire erupts, 3 lives lost in seconds, including 2 brave officers and 1 major cartel player. This wasn't random. It was the opening shot from La Empressa, the ultra-sophisticated cartel now burrowing deep into the heart of America. Secret tunnels, hidden safe houses, high-speed chases, and bloody retaliation sweeping the Southwest. This story exposes the chilling truth. The threat is no longer at the border, it's already next door. Don't look away, because what's coming next could forever change how safe you feel every single day. The president has made it clear that if narco-terrorists smuggle illegal drugs into the United States again, he has the authority to deal with them, and that is exactly what this administration is doing. 10:48 at night in El Paso, Texas, a deadly incident on American soil. 3 people killed 2 officers, lost 1 high-value target, eliminated an entire network operating inside American neighborhoods. This was the first strike against a cartel threat that is now moving inside the United States closer to Americans than anyone ever imagined. Fentanyl precursors are what make fentanyl. While we in the Interagency Task Force and the Department of Justice have fought hard to arrest and stop the drug smugglers, we must go after the fentanyl precursors, the essential ingredients used to manufacture this deadly drug. 10:48 at night in El Paso, Texas, a quiet neighborhood shattered by rapid gunfire as an unmarked SUV rolls through and unleashes a hail of bullets across a convenience store parking lot. When the smoke cleared, 3 people lay dead, 2 off-duty officers, and the very person they were protecting. Investigators knew instantly this wasn't a robbery or random attack. The scene was too clean, the timing too precise, the getaway almost professional. This was a cartel hit executed on American soil. The real target was Nico Cruz, a man who for years had moved people, drugs, and cash through hidden routes across New Mexico and Texas, even operating a fully reinforced underground tunnel complete with electricity and ventilation proof of a far deeper network. But once that tunnel was exposed, its operators became liabilities, and the cartel eliminates liabilities. What happened in El Paso wasn't an isolated incident. It was the opening salvo of a threat that has already pushed deep inside the United States. Hit that like button so this story reaches more Americans before it's too late. In the days after the El Paso attack, federal agents didn't just hunt the shooters, they hunted the entire structure that made the hit possible. What emerged fast was a clearer, far more alarming picture. This wasn't the work of a small crew. It was the fingerprint of a network quietly operating deep inside the United States. For years, Nico Cruz had been more than a smuggler. He was the vital link between cartel bosses in Mexico and an underground pipeline stretching from New Mexico into Texas, silently moving people, drugs, and cash farther and farther into the country. But once the smuggling tunnel he oversaw was exposed earlier this year, Cruz became a threat to his own organization. A man who knew too much had seen too much and could talk if cornered. That's when investigators started hearing one name whispered with fear: La Empressa. La Empressa is not your typical cartel. It doesn't act recklessly or leave messy scenes. It moves like a disciplined military force, silent, disciplined, almost invisible. Migrants are its assets. Silence is its shield. Precision is its signature. In the past 18 months, agents have documented 27 targeted executions linked to the group Clean Shots controlled bursts, every victim tied to smuggling routes or money disputes. In several cases, the perpetrators disabled cameras before the hits, showing military-grade planning. The drug seizures painted the same picture: 612 pounds of meth, 41 pounds of high-purity fentanyl, 9 modified transport vehicles, 2 mobile storage vans built for rapid movement. When FBI and ICE teams followed Cruz's trail into Sunland Park and Las Cruces, the truth hit hard. Hidden in ordinary neighborhoods weren't broken-down stash houses, but fully organized holding sites. Inside, more than 50 migrants stood shoulder to shoulder. Some terrified, some confused, many unsure which country they were even in. Some believed they were still in Mexico. Others thought freedom was minutes away. None realized they were being warehoused like cargo. Every door they kicked in led to the same conclusion: La Empresa isn't moving north anymore. It's already here, quietly taking root in suburbs, operating behind closed curtains, building routes and stockpiling weapons. And after El Paso, one truth became undeniable. La Empresa's expansion didn't start last week. It's been years in the making. Don't look away. What comes next proves La Empresa is far deeper inside America than anyone realized. Share this video to warn others. By the end of the week, federal agents stopped treating anything as isolated. The El Paso hit the stash houses in Sunland Park, the hidden migrants in Las Cruces. None of it stood alone anymore. The standoff lasted less than 2 minutes, but every second felt like a war zone. Inside, officers found not just the gunmen, but an entire arsenal of rifles stacked against walls, crates of ammunition, tactical vests, comms gear, and in the back bedroom, 3 terrified migrants huddled together waiting for a ransom call that might never come. But Las Cruces was only the beginning. Within hours, raid teams hit safe houses in Sunland Park, El Paso suburbs, and rural pockets across Texas. Some locations surrendered without a fight. Others turned hot instantly. At one house near Anthony, Texas, agents breached the front door only to meet immediate resistance from the hallway. Another team raiding an abandoned trailer outside Deming found tripwire alarms and booby traps, clear proof La Empresa had started using professional defensive measures. By nightfall, more than a dozen cartel members were in custody and several migrants rescued. Over 40 firearms were seized, along with encrypted phones and duct-taped bundles of cash. On paper, it was a win, but everyone in the command center felt the same uneasy truth: La Empresa wasn't caught off guard. It was only slowed down, and a cartel losing ground never retreats quietly. If you're still here, drop a comment. Yes, the retaliation you're about to hear is even worse. The raids across New Mexico and Texas were supposed to slow the violence, but instead they did the exact opposite. As federal teams gathered evidence and processed suspects, a new wave of retaliation began sweeping across the Southwest, faster and more vicious than investigators ever expected. It became crystal clear La Empresa had no intention of losing ground. They would answer force with force. The first warning came out of Laredo, Texas. Just after midnight, a federal patrol spotted a white pickup riding low on its rear axle, classic sign of a heavy load or drugs. When agents tried to pull it over, the truck floored it. Seconds later, it swerved hard and rammed head-on into the patrol vehicle, flipping both rigs. Have you ever noticed anything suspicious in your own neighborhood? Strange cars that don't belong, houses that stay too quiet, just like the La Empresa network? Agents crawled from the wreckage. 6 people were found dead inside the pickup. 3 believed to be smugglers, 3 migrants who never had a chance to escape. To investigators, it didn't look like a desperate getaway. It looked like a deliberate strike, the kind cartels use to send a message. Hours later, Arizona saw something even more alarming. A state police convoy traveling a remote highway near the Pima County line reported headlights closing fast from behind. Before they could react, automatic gunfire erupted from a black SUV. Rounds shredded the asphalt. One patrol unit spun out and crashed into a ditch. Another vehicle in the convoy was left crippled on the shoulder. The attackers targeted it deliberately. Moments later, the SUV erupted in flames. Dashcam footage later showed the final patrol unit engulfed in fire, its lights flickering weakly until the battery melted. Officers described the assault as textbook professional, controlled burst shooters withdrawing before backup arrived. No arrests, no suspects, just spent casings and tire tracks slicing into the sand. But the violence wasn't confined to the border. In California's Central Valley, far from where most people ever think about cartel warfare, danger slipped into neighborhoods. Bakersfield officers investigating a string of suspicious stash houses were about to face the unthinkable. A veteran officer was ambushed while driving his personal vehicle home. Witnesses heard short, controlled bursts, again the signature of trained shooters. His car drifted to a stop on the shoulder light still on. By the time help arrived, he was gone. This was no longer a string of random clashes. It was a pattern-coordinated escalation across states striking law enforcement with surgical precision. La Empresa, once a shadowy organization creeping north from Mexico, is now acting like a force testing the government's response. From New Mexico to Texas, Arizona and California local departments began issuing internal alerts. Patrol officers were told to avoid traveling alone, even off-duty. Rural counties demanded extra body armor, long guns, and helicopter support. Some agencies started escorting officers home after shifts measures unseen since the height of the cartel wars in northern Mexico over a decade ago. The Southwest wasn't sliding into crisis. It was already there. And while federal agents scrambled to regroup after the multi-state raids, one truth became impossible to ignore: La Empresa wasn't just fighting back, it was expanding. Smash that like button right now. It pushes this story into the feeds of people who still don't realize how close the danger has gotten. While violence swept the Southwest, another crisis was quietly exploding, one that rarely makes headlines but carries equally deadly consequences. Along the migrant route stretching from El Paso to Tucson and through the Southern California desert corridor, people searching for safety were walking straight into the grip of La Empresa. For decades, the journey northward has been perilous, but now migrants face criminal cartels that control most routes, turning people into sources of cash leverage and sometimes disposable property. In Sunland, park agents raiding a stash house discovered dozens of migrants, men, women, and teenagers crammed into a dark room after being shuttled across several states. Some still believed they were in Mexico. In rural southern Arizona, ranchers find abandoned camps strewn with torn clothes and IDs left by those fleeing armed cartel scouts who patrol the desert like sentries. Anyone trying to avoid cartel-controlled crossings gets intercepted anyway, threatened, kidnapped, or simply vanished into the night. One young woman was separated from her group when gunmen arrived and selected victims to take away. She didn't know where they were taken. She only remembered hearing crying as they were forced into trucks. Federal agents later discovered La Empresa had started using migrants for far more than smuggling fees. Some were forced to carry small loads, others were photographed and threatened, their pictures sent to families demanding payment. A few were given a choice: work for the cartel or disappear, and far too many disappeared. Even law enforcement could feel the shift. Search teams recovered belongings scattered miles off established routes: shoes, backpacks, baby blankets, silent proof of people who set out for a better life but never made it to the next step. Medical examiners in several counties reported a spike in unidentified remains, evidence that desperation is pushing migrants into more remote, deadly terrain. Across communities, churches and shelters are overwhelmed. Volunteers who once handed out water and blankets now report encounters with terrified migrants, warning, don't take that route. Men with guns are waiting. The truth has become unavoidable. The migrant trail is no longer just a journey. It has become a kill zone. And as the raids intensify and cartel violence spreads, the danger to migrants isn't decreasing. It's surging. Because cartels under pressure don't retreat. They tighten their grip on the most vulnerable people they can reach.
La Empresa is proving exactly that. By the time federal agents finished their reports, one reality was undeniable. The violence is no longer confined to border towns. It has spilled into suburbs, highways, ranches, and cities across the Southwest. Officers ambushed, migrants hunted, families living in fear. And La Empresa is not slowing down. Washington can no longer treat this as a regional problem. Inside the White House Situation Room, officials are staring at drone footage from the multi-state raid satellite imagery of desert movements and intercepted calls tying stash houses from New Mexico all the way to Central California.
The conclusion came fast and quiet. This is no longer traditional crime. This is organized infiltration. A foreign criminal group has built a network inside the United States. Within hours, the administration announced a full-spectrum response. FBI, ICE, DHS, ATF, and Border Patrol were ordered to pool resources under one unified campaign, the largest anti-cartel operation launched on American soil in over a decade. New task forces were stood up, field offices received emergency funding to hire more agents, buy surveillance gear, and deploy additional air support along the high-risk corridors. Publicly, officials spoke carefully.
This is America. You don't put America first, nobody will. Who doesn't put their own country first?
The most powerful lesson from the La Empresa saga is simple yet urgent: community vigilance is the deadliest weapon against organized crime. Those small red flags, unfamiliar vehicles that linger too long, houses that stay dark yet always have traffic migrants who suddenly disappear are almost always dismissed as nothing. Yet it is exactly that indifference that lets cartels sink roots into quiet neighborhoods. When citizens stay alert, report what doesn't feel right, and share information with authorities, we cut off the oxygen these networks need: secrecy. One phone call, one tip, one shared photo can collapse an entire pipeline, protect our interior borders, and save thousands of lives. Safety isn't luck, it's collective action. Don't wait for violence to knock on your door before you wake up.
That's the chilling truth about La Empresa, the ultra-sophisticated cartel network that has already wormed its way deep into the heart of America, bringing deadly violence, drugs, and human exploitation with it. From that first bloody night in El Paso to the wave of retaliation now sweeping the Southwest. This is no longer just a border story, it's a wake-up call for every quiet neighborhood in the country. Don't let this threat stay buried. If this video opened your eyes, smash that like button and share it, so awareness spreads fast. What about you? What do you think about this infiltration? Have you noticed anything strange where you live? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk and keep our community safe together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Stay vigilant.